Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Courtney Ryan, and today I'm joined by Alexa Lee. We're going to be answering some of your questions that you guys have submitted. Some of these were in my entry form video highlight. Others are just general questions that you guys have for us. So I'm going to give a woman's perspective. The reason I like to do these is to bring another woman on, get another perspective, so you guys can have some advice that is not just mine. I think often it's nice to hear from people who have gone through different things and been through different situations to kind of give you guys some better advice. So let's get started. Okay, the first question here is, hey Courtney, lately I've been finding myself in a position where I want to value myself more. That's great. It's been hard on me as my girlfriend has been putting me down recently. I've also been feeling that I don't want a relationship with her anymore. How can I focus on myself more and approach a breakup? Do you want me to start?
Sure.
So, first of all, I would say, is your girlfriend being hard on you because you're trying to value yourself? Like, what is she doing? I feel like I would need a little bit more context, but just when I hear girlfriend has been putting me down, I don't love that. And I don't love that for you specifically. I would just honestly recommend not being with someone who treats you that way. But you've gotten to the point where you say, I've also been feeling that I don't want a relationship with her anymore. I'm sure that that feeling is, coming from the fact that she's putting you down and you are trying to raise your self-esteem and value yourself. And when you do that, you don't allow people to treat you in a way where you feel like you deserve to be treated better, right? So, I mean, it sounds to me like you've already come to the conclusion that you don't want to be with her anymore. So now how can I focus on myself and approach a breakup?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, try to make it as respectful as you can, not through text, not over the phone, not an Instagram message, have that sit down conversation. And I think it's always helpful to that person and to yourself to explain why you feel like you need to exit the relationship. That way she knows and she can kind of learn and grow from that, hopefully, right? Fingers crossed. But I think that is the best way to approach the breakup.
Yeah, I think that's the most productive for both of you, honestly. And maybe she doesn't see that she's even doing it. Maybe it's like, maybe she feels bad about herself and then is projecting that onto you. And maybe it's just something that she needs to work on and, have a healthier relationship with herself before she feels like she can be in a healthy relationship with you. So it might not necessarily be malicious. Again, I feel like I would need more context, but a lot of times we project our insecurities onto other people, and that kind of sounds like what is happening here. So the next little thing is how to handle a partner putting you down or making you feel bad. And again, I think this is common when someone has a bad relationship with themselves and they're projecting that onto their partner. But like, how would you deal with that if you were in that situation specifically?
I think if you can, like nipping it in the bud, like just being super clear, like that hurt my feelings. Why did you do that? Why did you say that? That wasn't cool. Like that makes me feel like A, B, and C, and just really communicating that strongly because, like Courtney said, it could be from insecurity. It could be that she doesn't know she's doing it, and it could be a million reasons. So just being super clear that it's happening and you're not gonna just let it continue to happen, right?
Yes. Yeah, because what you allow is also what will continue. And I think, like she said, if you nip it in the butt from the very beginning and she continues to do it, then you know that that's something that you need to get out of probably because you've made it clear, your partner's not a mind reader. They can't tell if something's bothering you if you don't tell them it bothers you. But if you directly tell her, the ball is in her court, and if she continues to do it, I mean, you did your part. You told her it bothered you and it's still doing it. So I think at that point you have to know also when it's time to walk away. And then, so you said you want to value yourself more. I think it's helpful here to, give some tips on self-love, developing that confidence and that self-esteem that's gotten you to the point where you're like, okay, I don't want this person to treat me like this. Because I think when your self-esteem is low, you allow people to treat you in a way that reflects the way you feel about yourself. So what are some tips on developing self-love, confidence, self-esteem? Any personal experience you've had with that?
I think look in your circle around you and see who the people are who lift you up the most, and start by spending time with them as much as you can. And I think even being honest with them, like, look, this is where I'm struggling. I love that you give this for me. Can you continue to do so? And even maybe asking that from some of your other close friends, being honest with them that like, oh man, I'm in this rut and I just need to get out. I've done that before, and my friends have always come through. I'll get like little texts from the day, during the day, I'll get little texts that are just like uplifting, and I'm like, man, they were listening, like, and hopefully your friends, your family will do that as well.
Yeah, and surrounding yourself with people who make you a better you instead of people who make you feel bad or who are toxic or make you feel bad about yourself in general. I think, you are most like the people you surround yourself with.
Yes.
So make sure you're picking good people. It's so important. And making sure that you have people to look up to that also feel that way about themselves, and you'll want to kind of emulate that within your own life. Also, for developing confidence, I would say when you make promises to yourself and you keep them, that is something that has really boosted my self-confidence. Is like, okay, I know I need to get these videos filmed today. If I don't do it, then I feel bad about myself. I'm like, I promised myself I was going to do that and I didn't do it. So if I'm, not keeping the promises I make to myself, how am I with a relationship or with other people? So when you make those promises to yourself and you keep them, you boost your self-esteem, you boost your confidence, and it kind of creates a habit and self-discipline for you, which really helps with your self-love and self-esteem.
Yeah, I mean, making like a simple checklist, and if it depends like what kind of rut you're in. If you're all the way down, man, sometimes it's like I got out of bed, I brushed my teeth, and I made myself lunch, and making that checklist and being able to check things off, and then slowly you could make them, a little bit more challenging. I think that's such a great point.
I also think going to the gym really helps with that. If I'm ever feeling depressed or I'm feeling horrible, if I just work out, I feel like a brand new person. I feel like I could take over the world just because of that serotonin and all the endorphins and everything. Yep.
Can I also add something? Okay, so there was like 1 week, it was like a solid week where I was like, I'm just like, feel like butt, you know? And I was listening to a lot of motivational things that you can find like literally all
everywhere.
over YouTube, right? Instagram. And I'm not even kidding, like just driving in the car, listening to the positive words of affirmation, repeating those positive words of affirmation makes such a big difference. It's like we have social media, we have YouTube, we have all of these resources. We got to use them to benefit us,
And using them to benefit you instead of subconsciously causing harm in your life. I think the people that you follow, the content that you interact with on a daily basis is something that is completely overlooked by so many people, and it's probably ruining your life. Think of if you follow all these toxic, negative people on YouTube who are putting people down all the time, or it's always drama, it's always toxic. Your life is going to start looking like that. If that's all you listen to, that's all you follow. So really be picky about the content creators that you follow, what you listen to, and start to really be mindful about that. I think it's really important, and not a lot of people pay attention to that, but it's wild.
It is very important.
Okay, and then how to know when it's time to end things and focus on yourself. Like, how do you know when you've kind of gotten to that point? I think this guy, I can tell because he says it. I've been feeling like I don't want a relationship with her anymore. If you type that to me in an entry form video, it's over, buddy. It's done.
You just gotta do it.
So like, but if you're thinking about it, when you internalize that and you don't write it in an entry form video and it's not so clear as day, like, what happens in your brain when you know that things are over?
I think that you're starting to think consistently about it. You'll have little things pop up in your head, like, what would life be like if we weren't together? Or, these things she's saying I really don't like all the time. And you're starting to almost like daydream about breaking up with that person or not being with that person. If you're doing that kind of consistently, I think that's a red flag that you gotta
for sure. And I think it's normal for your mind to wander a little bit sometimes, but again, if it's that consistent where you're thinking, okay, what about this without them, or this, or you're not liking what they're saying to you or treating you, you kind of always know. And I think we sometimes put our blinders up when we don't want something to end because it feels like a failure. It feels like,
you're scared of being alone.
Yeah, you're scared of being alone. I know so many people who have been in similar situations, but being alone and developing a good relationship with yourself is so much better than staying with someone who is clearly not right for you or who you don't feel is a good match for you, So I think you kind of always know when it's time, and it's just the act of walking away that can become daunting for a lot of people. But trust your gut and don't put those blinders on, because normally the red flags and the little things you see in the beginning are the reasons why things don't work out in the end. So seeing that for what it is really important. Okay. Next question is, so I wanted to know your opinion on this. My friend is having trouble finding a serious relationship while she is maintaining heavily into the hookup culture. I told her that it is a big issue as it is difficult to truly search for long-term relationships while maintaining hookup culture. What is your opinion on this? So I kind of just want to talk about hookup culture in general first, and your opinion on it. Because you're a little bit older. I'm 26, you're
34.
I think that things have really changed the past few years in dating, especially with like people in high school, people in college. People are just hooking up. It's the friends with benefits.
Yeah.
It's just this hookup thing. And I think people are having a hard time committing and developing a serious relationship because they're so used to this quick fling or a 30-second TikTok. They're just constantly scrolling. I mean, it's like no one has focus anymore. No one can like commit to something, you know?
Gosh, you know what's so weird? I was like driving here and for some reason I was thinking about The Notebook.
Yeah.
And like their sex scene.
Yeah.
And I was like, does that even still happen? Do people like get naked and have sex that's like where you can where you can tell that it's like precious and so meaningful to that person, and it's like we cannot lose that as a culture. We cannot lose that, and I get the hookup thing and everything. I'm not saying it's like horrible altogether, but if we're just completely throwing away the beauty of intimacy and romance sexually, that is such a shame.
Yeah, and I think it's also a backbone for a lot of relationships, like not the whole relationship, but I think being intimate with your partner and having a good, sexual relationship with them is incredibly important for sustaining your relationship. And if you're just doing that with everyone and it's meaningless to you and it's not fulfilling and it's not personal, it's not intimate, you might have a hard time when you're actually in a long-term relationship because you've only experienced those quick little flings that don't mean anything to you. And you're kind of training yourself not to care. And I think that's a scary road to go down, especially if you are someone who sees yourself in a long-term healthy relationship. So I think that's something to keep in mind if that sounds like you. Some people never want to get married. They never want to be in anything long-term. And in that case, okay, I understand why hookup culture would work for you. It's not for everyone, but I think it's important to be very honest with yourself about that. I could never do hookup culture. I get too attached, I'm too emotional, and I just know that about myself, right? But I think a lot of people aren't honest about that. So
I'm so glad you brought up the word training, you said, because I think that when we're doing anything consistently, we're practicing, we're training, just like we would be if we're going to the gym.
Yeah.
So if you're doing anything consistently, your body's getting used to it, your mind is getting used to it. So then if you meet someone and there's a possible, long-term relationship or marriage, how is that going to work when the past 3 or 4 years you've been practicing the hookup culture?
Yes.
Right? It's like that.
You've been practicing and training yourself to bounce from one partner to another without feeling any kind of connection to them. So definitely something to keep in mind. I do think if you're someone who, is looking for a serious relationship, but you're continuously doing actions that say otherwise, like your actions and your words should match. What you want and what you do should match. It would be like if you wanted to run a marathon, but you were going to McDonald's every day and not going to the gym. Like you're not doing what you need to do to reach your end goal, right?
Yeah.
So kind of keep that in mind too when you're going through the motions of that. And then advice to girls and guys in regards to hookup culture, navigating modern dating. So do you have any advice for girls or guys who are maybe they're dating around, but maybe they don't want to be in hookup culture. They want something long term, they want something meaningful. How do you navigate that and also not fall into the trap of doing what everyone else is doing? Because I know that's often hard for a lot of people, and you end up like betraying yourself and your values because of what other people are doing. Like what advice would you give to like young people in that situation?
I think the best thing I could say is to be honest, always communicate, right? That always helps everything. But probably like not go through with the hookup, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if that's how because then you're gonna feel like crap after, right? You're just gonna feel like crap. If that's not what you want and then they're gone and you don't hear from them for 3 days because it was just a hookup to them, you're gonna feel like crap.
Yeah.
So I would say just try to get to know that person and talk to them, go places, do things like that, and maybe wait on the hookup part of it. I know that sounds kind of prude, but I mean, I'm like your mom.
No, but I think it's true, and I think a lot of people end up falling into this hookup culture because it's what everyone else is doing, and they feel like they have to do it in order to keep the guy or keep the girl. And it's like, if you have to do that to keep someone around and you're not okay with it, then you're clearly not on the same page, and that's not the right person for you, and that's okay. I think people have a very hard time thinking that someone is not for you or you are not for someone. But there's a quote, you could be the ripest, juiciest peach in the world and someone out there is still not gonna like peaches. You're not going to be everyone's peach, all right? Some people just won't like you, and that's okay, and you're not gonna be for everyone, but I think it's really important to find someone who's on the same page as you. And so you're not betraying yourself and your own values. So the next question is about just general recommendations for approaching a girl in public. If you were a girl in public, how would you like to be approached?
Gosh, I will say my heart goes out to the men in this situation because I think it is hard, right? It's hard. But I think that take the cheesy lines and throw them away. Like right now, take them out of your mouth and freaking throw them away. I don't ever want to hear them again.
Thank you.
I don't want to hear, what was it? Oh my gosh, do you want to go behind a rock and get a little boulder? Like literally, like as a grown woman, I had that said.
Wait, they said that to you?
Yes, and there wasn't even rocks. Like there wasn't, it's not like we were, in Arizona, the Grand Canyon or something.
Colorado.
Like, right, there's no rocks. Yeah, so throw the cheesy lines out the window and just say something authentic to them, like, if you are at the park and you see her laugh at something and you go, oh, wasn't that funny? Like, or, just something.
Make it natural.
Yeah.
If you're in line at a coffee shop, say something like, oh my gosh, I've never been here before. What's the best thing on the menu?
Yes.
It's not that hard.
Yes.
It's so much better than saying some weird latte pickup line you read online and you went to the coffee shop for that reason, guys. Seriously.
Right.
Make it natural. You don't want to come across like you've been practicing some weird line or that you use this on every single girl. Like really curate it to her, the setting that you're in, the situation that you're in. I think it always comes across much better when you do it that way versus some weird pickup line.
Yeah, the moment I think that women feel like this, you're saying something to them that has been said on 20 other women, it's like, I'm done.
Yeah. Or like, I get a lot of questions about how do I approach a girl without coming across creepy?
Okay, yeah.
And I think a lot of the times the creepiness creeps in when the guy does not know when to stop. The guy does not know when to walk away. It's like, clearly I'm not interested in you. You're not picking up on my cues I'm giving you, and you're sticking around too long and I'm feeling uncomfortable. I think that is when you need to worry about coming across as creepy. I don't think just approaching a girl and saying something natural is creepy, and I wouldn't think that most girls would take it that way unless you are staying around too long and making it that way.
Right.
And then also approaching at the gym, because this is a hot topic. Some girls love it, some girls hate it. I've been approached at the gym in, pretty nice ways before, but I want to know your opinion because I think a lot of girls feel differently about this.
Yeah, I think there's probably mixed views. Sometimes you're just like, I just feel so nasty. Please don't even look at me right now.
Yeah.
But I think all in all, don't do it when she's like on the treadmill or something. When I'm like in the zone and you're messing with my vibe.
Yeah, like if you're full sprinting and a guy comes up to you and you're like out of breath.
Yeah, that's not a good time, But I think this might kind of sound creepy, but if you want to hang out and wait a little bit till she's done or she takes a break to go to the water fountain or something like that, I guess it can kind of come off a little.
But it's better than doing it again when she's like full sprint, clearly in the zone with her workout. You would not want to come up to her on the squat rack when she's mid squat and her butt's out. Like really try to find a moment that makes it, comfortable for her. Maybe if she's just walking on the treadmill, that could be okay. Or if she's walking to a new machine, something like, or getting a drink at the water fountain. I mean, something like that where it's a off moment for her where she's not like totally in the zone.
Yeah, and it's the same thing we talked about with the comments before. It's like say something natural, like, oh man, I saw you gave that treadmill a good workout, or how do you like that machine, or just don't comment on her physical
or like
appearance.
What her workout routine is, like what she's doing. Yeah, like don't say your butt looks so good in those leggings. Like that's the worst thing you could say. And I know that some of you probably do that. So we don't want to be doing that in the future. I was at the gym one time and I was walking, doing like a cool down on the treadmill, and a guy was leaving and he came up to me and he said, "Hey, I hate to interrupt your workout, but I cannot leave this gym without knowing your name." It was the perfect thing to say.
That is really nice. That's actually really nice.
It was lovely.
You know what it is? It's like the honesty about it.
Yeah, like I know this isn't ideal that I'm approaching you at the gym, but like you're here, I'm here, I think you're cute, I want to know your name. Simple, guys. It's just, don't overthink it too. I think that's all. Really, just copy what that guy did to me if you want to.
Yes.
It's like perfect.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Okay, the next question is online dating experience and tips for men. If you're not online dating, where are the best places to meet people? So maybe first let's talk about your experience with online dating, if you've done it at all.
I actually have not.
Okay.
But I know that people have a lot of success in it.
Yes. I know it can be difficult for men too. Sometimes I think it's harder for men to meet people online, again, because women are just bombarded with messages. All my friends who are on Tinder or Hinge just get thousands of messages. Like it's impossible to stand out. So I do think meeting in person can be a lot easier.
Yeah, and keep your eye out, just like, it sounds like you're hunting, like where's my next prey? Like no, not like that. But just keep your eyes out when you're at the grocery store or just like,
Yeah,
you know.
Whole Foods, Target.
Yeah, Whole Foods, hello. You know he eats healthy. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that's such a good point. I actually kind of briefly met a man at Heinen's, I think it was.
Oh.
Yeah. And I wasn't interested in dating at that point, but like the approach was good. It was natural. It was kind of like, look, I know this isn't like,
Yeah.
but that kind of a thing. So yeah, keep your eyes out. It doesn't always have to be on the dating website.
Yeah, for sure. And then maybe not approaching in public, but what would you say are some really great places to meet people in general? Like maybe if you're in like a fitness class or something, I sometimes recommend like joining a club or something like that, because then you know that you have a common interest with that other person, and that can be a really good foundation for the both of you to kind of build on.
That's such a great point. I mean, you want to find someone that's like-minded, right? And so if you're spending time in a gym, you know, they have health as a priority, or fitness and wellness. So that's a good point.
Yep, so find common interests. Again, you have to put yourself out there. If you want something, you have to work for it. I think a lot of guys get discouraged because a relationship is not just falling into your lap, but you have to really put yourself out there and work for it. No one's just gonna show up at your doorstep like, okay, knock, knock, I'm ready to date you. Like, you really have to put yourself out there. So don't be afraid to try new things, to join a club, go to that fitness class you've been wanting to go to. You never know who you can meet and what could happen. So put yourself out there. And then the last question, should a guy pay for the first date? This is a polarizing topic on YouTube.
What? Really?
Yes.
Wait, what do you mean?
Like men think that they should not pay for the first date. And I, as
why?
I know.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yes, it's like very bad with young people.
Wait, so what's your view on this?
I think that the man should pay for the first date.
Okay,
I think unless she was like so rude to you, unless it's clear that she's not interested, if she was mean to you, if she, you know, was whatever, then you should pay for the first date. I think it's the gentleman, chivalrous thing to do. And I think if you don't pay for a first date, it's going to signal to her that you're not into her.
Yeah.
Unless she specifically like or explicitly said, I don't want you to pay for this, I want to pay for half. Like sometimes, you know, girls who are maybe very into feminism or whatever it is, like they don't want you to pay. I understand that. So it's kind of individual, you know, depends on the situation, but generally speaking, I don't think a girl is going to get offended if you pay for her on the first date.
Absolutely.
And I think it just makes you look like a gentleman. But yeah, isn't that wild?
That is wild, because I definitely think the first date is, that's not a question.
Yeah.
But if you're in a relationship with somebody and it's ongoing, I have always like split the bill, or not split the bill, or like he pays one time and I pay the next.
Yes, and that's totally
that's
normal.
how I've always done it. But like first date, yeah, you wanna,
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be, I think guys get caught up in this too, because when they think of a first date, they think of somewhere very nice. They're spending a lot of money, but a first date does not have to be expensive. And if you know that you can't afford something expensive, don't go somewhere expensive. And the girl should be understanding and know that about you also. You don't want to pretend you're like a millionaire, take her to a 5-star restaurant on the first date, and then you can't afford it. Or go into financial distress for a woman. Never ever do that. And don't lie about it. Just be very honest. And you could also do something free for a first date. You could go to the museum. You could go to a flea market if the weather's nice. You could go to, I mean, a ton of different things. So,
I guess that is probably the case for people that date a lot, right? If you're like dating a lot, then you're like constantly spending money. But then that's your choice to be dating a lot. So
exactly.
I don't know.
And then like, don't put yourself in a situation where you know the bill is going to be $200. If you can't afford it, go somewhere affordable, or go get coffee on the first date. And then comes the argument of like, girls don't, there have been TikToks where girls like, do not take me on a picnic date or a coffee date because you're not paying enough money or putting in effort. And to that I would say, if a girl acts like that, she's probably just not the right girl for you, right? I think the point of a first date is not to see how much money a guy can spend on you. It's to get to know him, to see if you're a good match or not. And if there's any motive other than that, then it's probably not a good match. So Alexa and I both agree that yes, you should pay for the first date. And just if you can't afford something expensive, just don't make it expensive. It's really not a big deal. All right, guys, that is all I have for today's video. If you liked it or found it helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel to be in the loop for when I release new content. If you want to participate in future videos like this, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Courtney Christine Ryan, and give Alexa a follow while you're at it. We'll put her little ad up on the screen for you guys. Thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you all next time.